the So if we can turn our attention to the source of our attention. Before any appearance is the spaciousness of being. Which is free, open, unformed, before any creation. Whatever appears to us appears within this borderless stillness. There are no obstacles. Within the source, everything flows, arises out of the source. So be knowingly this formless presence. Which knows itself as peace, love, and beauty. And which refers to itself as the world, the body, and the mind in its creation. without being limited by its creation. Recognize yourself as the stillness, the silence, not the silence of the mind, but the silence in which the mind appears, the silence in which the silence of the mind appears. As your true self, as the only self there is. There are no issues, nothing lacking. No limitations. The open, effortless space of awareness. Which has no limits, no borders. The sweetness of being. Manifesting itself gently, sweetly, in a friendly, loving way. Like the sunshine shines onto the world. You are that light, the light of being, which shines onto infinite body minds, infinite worlds, infinite universes. One light. Every vibration, every sensation within your body-mind is a manifestation, an expression, a dance of that light. So lovely. So sufficient. So-called problems refer to the imaginary me, not to I consciousness, I awareness. An imaginary character imagining myself, my only self, which is consciousness, imagining consciousness to be a man, a woman, a person, a son, a daughter, an imaginary character somehow seems to reduce my totality to my personality, the personality of the body mind. But the noumenal cannot be reduced to the phenomenal.
Hello, how are you?
The formless cannot be reduced to a form. And as a person, I experience myself in a cocoon. I experience myself within a bubble, which I refer to as my life. A storyline. I live under the influence of the past memories, images, feelings, various narratives about myself, my family, the world, my story, my history. Without the understanding that I am not a character in a dream. Somehow I overlook myself as consciousness, as the reality that perceives. And instead I live a storyline of a limited mortal character, fearful, hopeful, limited, isolated. An unhappy mind impression, which is not necessary in this moment of presence. A fresh moment of being awareness, which is completely free from past and future, and yet full of life and light, the life and light of awareness, consciousness. We have the capacity to understand that I am not that which appears. I am not the body mind which I perceive. Rather, I am the reality which perceives, which is. And as long as we do not turn our attention to truth, to the reality of consciousness, the default mode of I am a man, I'm a woman, I'm a person continues to operate with thoughts and concerns about my life, my future, my family, my money, my health. As long as we do not go to the root examination of the reality of I, the belief in being a person continues to function with all its baggage and worries and concerns. And the wheel of samsara spins and spins. We get trapped in the orbit, the me orbit, the sense of limitation, the me feeling. So welcome yourself as this aware presence, which is undeniably so. Allow Shiva to dance any way Shiva wishes to dance. No need to be concerned about Shiva's dance. Recognize yourself as Shiva. We can discriminate between the false I thought, which refers to you as a person, which refers to you as a character in time, in space. You have the capacity to discriminate, to perceive, to come to clarity within yourself about that false impression, and to notice in a flash that you are the recognition and not that which is being recognized. The world appears to you. The mind, the body, memories, thoughts, impressions, perceptions appear to you. This in no way means that you are an appearance. not an object, not a form, not a stream of thoughts and perceptions and feelings and emotions. So close, this teeny tiny step that separates us from misery and the peace of being. Imperceptible step. And it is your step to take. Every moment that you turn your attention to the source, to the truth, to awareness. Not via thinking, but via your entire attention, your entire passion. In that moment, you have taken that step. Okay, so if you have any questions, anything you would like to explore, please go ahead.
Bonjour Magdi.
Shiva, salut Shiva.
Salut, salut. I feel like I'm sort of prompted to say something.
Okay.
Relating to the dancing Shiva.
Okay.
It's just it's too much in my face, you know what I mean? So I'm like, because just to give you sort of a little bit of a context beside everything else which is going on, the runes have been coming back into my life. And, I used to do rune readings in much earlier days. And so they came back, and it's now sort of like a month or so. And I'm doing not only readings right and left, but I'm also doing a very deep rune master integration, apprenticeship, etc. And so one of the things you do, so there's 25 runes, and they're all like pretty much standing for main energies in our lives, such as, guidance, protection, obstacles. So there is the so quote unquote good ones, and there's the so quote unquote bad ones, like disruption, obstacle, you know what I mean? So you have, what you do is that you spend a day each day you spend with another rune. I mean, it's basically sort of you do an immersion with what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And after having done like 14 days of nothing but the most glorious runes, since yesterday I'm dealing with the difficult runes, right?
The what?
And so I had
With the what?
the difficult runes.
Okay.
With the difficult runes.
Oui,
Can
oui.
you hear me?
Oui, oui,
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Tu m'entends
Oui,
bien?
je t'entends bien.
And so it's like I had disruption and standstill. Okay, so yesterday was complete disruption. Today is standstill. Like nothing works. You're blocked. You can't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this deep contemplation, because I integrate that into my contemplations, into my living, I'm like, I remember it. I go back to it. What does it mean? Yesterday, because nothing is written in stone in the sense that you can have a disruption in your life. Let's say Shiva is dancing disruption, but you are consciousness. And from that viewpoint, you can just, do whatever's necessary to do to go through this disruption, or you can completely block and be in a state of resistance, or what you call being in a person. And then you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, et cetera, et cetera. So this morning when I drew Nautis, which is the standstill, which is another really major negative, quote unquote, from the personal viewpoint kind of message or rune, I'm sort of like, and I just gave a reading to a really beautiful healer. She's somebody who has done her life dedicated to the light and to awareness, and so we just had this reading, and I realized what happened in her life was so incredible. I mean, I can say this is not private information I'm giving away because nobody knows her, but it's somebody who lost her only daughter last year to leukemia, right? Who herself is physically ill. Her husband had a huge financial crisis. So all of this happened in the last 12 months, and it's not even talking about what's going on in the world at large. So for her, the bearing of this type of dance of Shiva, when suddenly Shiva thinks about kicking her in the butt, like in major ways, has been incredibly beautiful. I mean, she dealt with it on the highest possible level a human being can deal with. And yet she's experiencing the grief, she's experiencing questions, she has doubts. It's like, how is it going to continue, etc. She's extremely sensitive to what's going on in the world, talking about civil war in August and stuff like that. So she's, there's a lot in that particular dance of Shiva she's dancing, and yet she is also somewhat. And so what happened this morning, this epiphany happened to me that, and I mean, I've been saying there's no good and there's no evil since the beginning of dawn, but it's a different thing to say it and then to just really live it and be in this like openness to it, to saying, hey, so this looks like negative, I need to I'm losing yet again another residence of mine in August. I have to yet again move. So I can see this in a really negative way, or I can be open to it, and I feel that this learning curve is what is so incredibly precious, because it feels like we are as a species a little bit like, I don't know what this plant is, but when I traveled in Australia, there's a particular plant which makes fruits. And these fruits are in an extremely hard shell. And in order to fertilize, meaning to spread, to grow into a new plant, they need to be completely burned down. So a bushfire is necessary for that particular plant to propagate itself. And it feels a little bit like, to me, like the human species is like that. It needs to burn in order to go to another level. Maybe that's just an idea. So all of this came up when you were saying Shiva's dancing. So I throw this at you in my usual ways, and then you're gonna just elaborate on it, okay? Is that good?
Yes.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Hein?
Okay,
Je t'aime. I turn my video back off.
okay, Shiva. So in terms of the openness, openness is the way. It's the way because there are no borders to truth, to reality, to consciousness. It's, even to say it's open is a limited way of speaking, but language is limited, so openness is the way, yes. And the resistance is artificial. It's an add-on to how we are, how we naturally are. We naturally are the flow, we naturally are the freedom, the dance. Artificially, we are protecting an imaginary realm. And when you spoke about runes, it's fascinating because in a way, my entire past is a bunch of runes. Maybe you could say various rune sites, but the whole realm of the past, of my past, me in the past, is the realm of runes. And in the world, we can visit ruins. There are many, many ruins in Lebanon, in Byblos, in Tyre, in Tripoli, which are sort of a phenomenal expression of the ruins of the humanity. The past is a collection of runes. But in truth, meaning in reality, in that which is real, which is not the content of our experience, but its reality, the reality of our experience, awareness, consciousness. There is no time. There isn't a past and a future, and there are no runes, no possibility of runes. But it's a good thing to let the runes be runes, to rather than live in the runes, let the runes be runes and live out of the freshness, of the wisdom of being, of presence. Good and bad is relative. So there's only good. There's only goodness, only love, only truth. There's no opposite to truth. There is no opposite to love. There is no opposite to love, to kindness. There's no opposite. That which has no opposite is absolute.
Est-ce que je peux dire quelque chose?
Vas-y.
Because I just feel to say something on the subject because, and it's funny, it's nice how you pick up on the rune thing, by the way, and that whole runes in Lebanon and the runes of the past and all of this.
The rules of me, the entire realm of me, you know.
Right. So I want to go back to something else, like, or to the same thing, but expressing it in a different way. So I am of God in the same way, or I can say I am of consciousness in the same way that I can say the wave is off the ocean. The other way around doesn't work. So I'm saying I am of God, okay? And there is a certain interest or capacity in that, which everyone in this little sangha here clearly experienced that, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to listen to you. We wouldn't be able to sit here for an hour and listen to this type of transmission that comes through you if there wouldn't be a spark which recognizes that in ourselves. Okay, so now we are born in these bodies, we are equipped with these minds, and we go the wrong, I mean, not only it's not about wrong, but we go into the way of conditioning and becoming more and more a person. And at some point, through circumstances, which often are actually the kick dance of Shiva, meaning house burns down, I lose my job, whatever I want to do doesn't really work out, certain amount of unhappiness, at least in my life, let's say, did propulse me into opening more to that divine spark inside of me and cultivating it, and doing wisdom satsangs for years and years and years and years and years, and more light comes in, and more I grow from the application, I'm the person, to the hard drive of God or of consciousness. And so my operating system shifts. I'm going from operating from my personal stuff to operating from more conscious, more encompassing positions, let's say. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now, because what you say is that what you just said is something fairly extreme, and you rightfully do so, because obviously it's the truth. But there are these in-between states, and I mean, most of us are in sort of in-between states. Like George is forever talking about that, right? Like I know I am it, but in my experience, I'm not it, right? How do I get back into it? Oh, if I try to go back into it, I actually operate again from the lower system, blah, blah, blah. I mean, all of this, we know that dance. That's also a dance of Shiva, right? The dance of trying to get into what we already are. Now, what I find interesting is that we receive help all the time. I received the most tremendous help from you. I will be forever grateful over those last years. I know that you know it. I have other teachers. I had other teachers who were of tremendous help. My dog, the love with my dog, my plants, my art. I mean, there's so many different things which are extremely helpful and for which I'm grateful. So I feel that. And again, you can use anything from a platform of identified person and ego, or you can use the same exact tool from the position of consciousness. So what I want to go to is like something like the runes or tarot reading or any other kind of transpersonal communication is in the same way a guide than a spirit guide who can appear to you. I mean, you can have suddenly like a Lenape warrior Indian standing in your room. Not that it happened to me, but I know of people who have spirit guides or other entities which help them. And I'm seeing this completely as the world of phenomenal. I'm not saying it's not phenomenal. I'm not saying that's the ultimate truth. I'm not venerating the altar of the runes, but it's sort of everything which helps to bring us into that, what you say, which is the ultimate goodness beyond good and bad, the full living and the full immersion and the full knowing of us as consciousness is good for me, you know, and I'm just open to it and let it go
Yes.
through. So
Yes,
that's, I felt to share that.
Yes. So Shiva, whatever resonates for you, coming from a place of love and sharing and exploration and contemplation, whichever form it takes, is fine. It's fine. I mean, no way am I commenting about the study of runes, which I don't know about it, and so I'm more sharing. It's not directed. It's not, my sharing is not directed. It's more, it's embracing whatever work you are doing, which you get a sense within yourself of the direction, because you are the light. The light is within you. You can follow that, and when you don't, then you know it, because you will feel it. You will feel that bump. So
Absolutely.
Yes. Everything has God's touch. There's nothing that is not the creation of the divine, not the creation of consciousness. So whatever you explore, depending on how you explore it, whether you're exploring it with the assumption of separation, or whether you're exploring it out of an interest in not knowing and open to the knowledge, you will find understanding, you will find knowledge, you will find some light. So there's nothing that is off. There's nothing that is off. When you have an interest in truth, when you have an interest in the understanding, in the exploration, and of course the sharing, because we are sharing, we like to interact, we receive as we give, it's all good. It's just that when I heard the talk about runes, it sort of took me to my personal experience of runes, and in my experience, my visceral experience of runes, I experience the me, my whole past, the character, Magdi's life. I experienced that as rune. Somehow the word rune, touched that aspect. So I was just sharing.
No, I totally got that, and I think that's why I wanted to clarify it, because it's not just petroglyphs of ruins. You know what I mean? It's sort of like the words are sort of very close between rune and ruin, and most people don't even know what it really is. So, but to really cut down to the most elementary part of the sharing, because the rune is just the transmission, how it happened, is that I felt, when you do these sort of oracle readings for people who have deep questions, and obviously there's all sorts of questions, from like, will I ever get a child in my life, or am I going to buy this house or not buy this house, or really deep spiritual questions. But in any case, what you do is there's always the answer, and the answer comes in disguise of duality, which is like the good answer and the quote unquote bad answer, right? So the good runes and the bad runes. And what I just experienced was to be a full day with the energy of disruption, and which is something we sort of are to some degree, all of us, like rabbits who are afraid of the snake. We are afraid on some corporal, physical level. We are afraid of disruption, and that's okay. We're afraid of death to some degree. That's if we are on that plane of experience, like as the physical body, right? We don't want to suffer. We don't want to hurt ourselves. We don't want to bleed. We don't want to lose our loved ones to death or famine or whatever. So there is this sort of, I'd say, nearly visceral response to negativity, which kicks in automatically. And so having spent an entire day with that quote unquote negative energy, and every time bringing myself back into my true position, and from the true position knowing that it actually doesn't really exist, and even on the plane of existence, me as consciousness, I'm able to navigate it in a way that it's not a drama, but it's just a minor little problem, and I can sort of work through it, was amazing, you know. And it brought me to what you just open your satsang with, which is like, let Shiva dance. And stop interfering and commenting and judging that the dance is good or the dance is bad. Shiva is dancing how the F he wants. And we are not, you know, the ones who judge whether or not that bushfire is, the bushfire is probably negative for a bunch of squirrels who die in it, but it's extremely positive for that particular plant, which can only propagate itself if there is a bushfire. So it's kind of like, you know, divine wisdom is so much more than the human mind can ever conceive. And I just felt to share that. I'm sorry for my rambling on, but it's it's a beautiful, beautiful experience, you know. It's really amazing. So
well, that's lovely.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, so
Bientôt, hein?
okay. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, well, if there are no questions, thank you all. Very lovely to be with you, Holger, Shiva, Frank, Karen, Emily, George, John, Esther, hello Marga, Holly, Holly, Malcolm, Kelly, hey Kelly, Zoe, and Esther. Did I say Esther? Hello Esther. Thank you all. Very lovely to be with you. Okay.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you, Magdi.
Beautiful.